Hello everyone, I'm Iman and in this video we are going to build this navbar component using React and Tailwind CSS from scratch. On the left side we have our website name and on the right side we have some links and a sign out button. And it's completely responsive on extra large devices, on large devices, on medium and on smaller devices. Instead of those links and a sign out button we have our side nav, and if we open it we have made this using animations and transition effects, as you can see. So without further ado, let's get started. I have created an empty folder in my desktop. Let me drag it in Visual Studio Code. In here we run command. First, to create our React app, we are going to use Vite. Vite is an extremely fast and lightweight web application build tool. It supports React, Vue.js and other popular frameworks. We will open up our terminal. Just make sure you are in the top level, and in here we run command npm create Vite at latest and hit enter. Next, it will help us set up our project. For our project name, let's say booking, and for our framework use your arrow keys and select React and hit enter. And for our variant we will use JavaScript. You don't have to worry too much about the differences between JavaScript and JavaScript SWC. SWC is a built thing which is slightly faster, but we are going to use simple JavaScript. It says done. It's giving us some instructions on what we need to do next. We will do cd booking. It will take us to our booking folder and we will say npm install. It's going to install all the dependencies that we need for our app. So now if we go to our project explorer, you can see we have our booking folder, and if we expand it, there's a bunch of stuff Vite has created for us. It's good. So back in our terminal we do npm run dev. If we hover and click it, it should open up in the browser. You can see that Vite has started up a development server for us, and see we have got our React app set up. Now we need to install our Tailwind. So we will open up a new terminal. Inside our booking folder we will say npm install -t Tailwind CSS, post CSS, auto prefixer. Make sure you spell it right. We need to install this for Tailwind CSS to work in our project. Once that installed, we will type npx Tailwind CSS init-p. What this will do, it will create Tailwind config for us. So in our booking folder, you can see tailwind.config.js and postcss.config.js. If you don't see them, just make sure you run previous commands in the booking folder. Once we done that, inside the tailwind.config.js, let's close it. In the content array, add a new string. The first string is /index.html. and the second string will be dot slash source slash star star slash star dot curly braces JS TS JSX and TSX. What this does is it specifies the file types that we want to apply Tailwind styles to. So basically it means all the components within the source folder and also index.html. Also make sure there's no spaces in here, as if you have any spaces at all then it's not going to work. Let's save it. In our project explorer, these are the files when we create React app using Vite. It added some style sheets for us with their own styles. We only need one style sheet, so remove app.css and inside index.css remove everything in here and type add tailwind base, add tailwind components and add tailwind utilities. This is importing all the things that we need for Tailwind to work in our index.css. So if you want to, you can add other stuff in here safe enough and it won't interfere with Tailwind now. We need to make sure we import this index.css. The best place to import this is at the top level of our app inside main.jsx. It's already imported. You can have a look in the Tailwind documentation to see the installation steps and see if there's any step that you miss. Now we are good to go. Let's close these files and inside our source folder we will create a new folder called layout and inside we will create a new file called layout.jsx. Let's create a component here. Layout equal arrow function return and inside let's create a div and say layout. Let me export it. Let me export it. Like this. And inside source let's create one more folder called components. So in our upcoming videos we will create new components in here, but for now let's create a new file called navbar.jsx. Let's create our navbar component. And we will say for text navbar. Let's also export it. Like this. We need to import this navbar component inside our layout file. So instead of layout text, we will say navbar like this. And let's save it, and inside our browser it's not going to work because we need to import this layout inside our app.jsx. So in here let's remove all of this. Inside our application we need different pages, for example register, sign out, sign in, etc. For that we are going to use routers. First we need to install our package called React Router DOM. This one, let's open it and copy it. And inside our terminal, let's paste it. It's installed. So let's create our app component first. And let's export it. Let's export our component. Export default app. And inside here we are going to use router. It's not importing, let's import it ourselves. We will say import inside curly braces browser router as router. We are importing it as router for our ease. And routes, route and navigate from React Router DOM like this. Now in here we will use browser router as router like this. Inside we have our different routes, and in here we have our single route. And inside route, let's give it an attribute called path and slash. It means home page. And for our element attribute, inside curly braces we will say layout. Let's import it like this. So what this attribute do is, inside our URL, if we say slash, then we will go to our layout component. It's going to show this component. Okay. What this attribute do is, when we go to our browser in the URL and we will say slash, it will take us to our layout component. And inside layout we have implemented our navbar component. Now if we save it and take a look in the browser, you can see we have our navbar text in here. So let's close it, and now let's first give some styling in here. We will say class name flex. By default flex value will be is flex row, but we are going to use flex col, meaning flex column. Our direction will be vertical. And minimum height screen. What this property will do is, it will make sure that our element will take up the entire height of the viewport. Okay. Inside our navbar component, let's say return, and inside we have our first div, and let's create another div, another container div, and we have our span tag, and it has one attribute. It will go to slash, and inside we have our website name. When we click on this website name, it will take us to our home page. And after this website span, we will have our new div in here, and inside we have different links. Let's create our link and we will import it from React Router DOM. Let's import it. Import link from React Router DOM like this, and in here we have our attribute to. It will go to /home. We'll say for text home, and we are going to have some more links. Let's create them. It will go to /about. In here we will say about. We need two more. Contact and register. And register. And after this link, we have one more link inside a div. And it will go to /signout. Let's make it capital like this. And let's inside our browser. As you can see, we have our website name, our links and our button. Let's style them. So for our top div, we will do class name. Let's do it like this, and let's give it BG, background meaning blue 700. The bigger our number is, the darker our color will be. Let's save it. It's not working. Let's give all our styling first. Container, we will create this class later. When we make changes inside our tailwind.config.js, we also need to restart our app. Let's say Ctrl C, and again let's say npm run dev. And as you can see, now it's working. Okay, so now after our color, we will say py-4 like this. Let's make this a bit bigger, and this one also. And in here, after mx auto, we will say flex width dash full. As you can see, now it's in a horizontal. It's in horizontal. And after width full, we will say items center to make our all the items to center, as you can see. So these classes will apply to all the children element inside it. After the items center, we will say justify between. So what this will do is it will separate these two, our website name and our links, as you can see. And now let's style our website name, and this website name will be inside a link. Let's Let's make our link first. It will go to slash. Let's remove it from here and give some class names to it. We will say flex. Text will be to Excel. Let's see. It's not showing us because we need to give it text white, so its color will be white. It's not showing. Flex text to Excel, text white. Oh, we have forgot to give here our name. Let's save it and see. As you can see, and for our font we will have a font serif. It's giving us a nice logo effect, and font will be bold. And also let's say tracking tight. Like this. As you can see, the spacing between these letters will decrease. Let me do it like this. Let's make it a little bit bigger, text 3XL like this. And let's now style our links. In here we will say class name, space X, let's give it 2, so it will space our links out a little bit. Like this. And for this space X to work, let's also give it flex here. Yes, so it will make our links in horizontal. Now let's style our links. We will say flex, items center, and text will be white like this. And we will say text no wrap. What this property will do is it will not break our text. For example, on top it will be HO and on the bottom line we have our ME. So basically it means it will not break our text even if we go on smaller screens. Like this. As you can see, our sign out button is breaking because we haven't give it any styles and text no wrap. That's why. So for now, after text no wrap, we will say text LG to make our text a little bit bigger like this. And we will say font semi bold. It will bold our text. And PX we will give it 4. So for padding on left and right side. Let me zoom out like this. And after padding we will say hover underline. So when we hover over this link, we have our underline like this. And for our to attribute, it will not work when we click on this because we haven't created our page yet. So now let's style our other links. Flex, items center. As you can see, if I remove it, it will go on top. Okay. To make it center, we will say items center like this. And our item center property will not work without flex, as you can see. So after this we will say text white, text no wrap, and text LG. And Tailwind has many properties. If we click Ctrl and space, and to see all of these suggestions you need to install Tailwind IntelliSense. So if we go to extensions and search for Tailwind, this one, Tailwind CSS IntelliSense. When you install it, then it will give us these suggestions. So after text LG, we will say font semi-bold to bold our text a little bit. PX will be 4 and hover will be underline. Like this. We'll have the same styles for other links. So let's just copy it and paste them here. Like this. Okay. This background is a little boring. Instead, let's make it into a gradient. So we will go in here, instead of background blue we will say BG, and instead of right, if we do L meaning left, it will go from left to right. Okay, but we are going to do from gradient to right. So what this does is our gradient will go to the right direction. Okay, so let's give here different colors from blue 950. So it's going to be our first color like this. So it will start from blue 950 right to left, from blue 950 to red 400 like this. And let's also give here our middle color. To give it we will use keyword VIA and blue 700. From 950 between color will be our blue 700 and it will go to red 400. Let's save it like this, as you can see. And now let's style our button. So if we go to our this div, for our sign out button, let's give here classes flex, and if we go do text no wrap, it will not wrap. So let's take a look. As you can see, if we remove it, as you can see, it's wrapping. And if we do here text no wrap, it will not wrap, as you can see. So after this we will say text blue 600 to make our text color blue, and our background will be white, PG white. Let's give it padding 2. Let's first see why is it breaking. It's because it's not responsive. We will make it responsive, but first let's style our button. After BG white we will say padding 2 to space our sign out link a little bit from this background. Padding 2 like this, but on x-axis let's give it some more padding. For that we will say px dash 3, so it will space out from left and right a bit. And let's make our text a little bit bigger, text LG, and our font will be a little bold like this. And the reason we give this div is because we want to give our sign out a border. So let me show you. We will say border like this, and border will be white. Padding dash 1 like this, and on hover we will give it a different color, border red 400. If we hover it, as you can see, now our border will be red. So now our layout is completed, but we need to make it responsive too. Okay, and as you can see, if we do it on full screen, we don't have enough spacing in here. So let's give that. For that we will go inside our tailwind.config.js, and let me close this side nav, Control B. So in here we have give it container class. Let's make use of it. Inside our tailwind.config.js, after our extend we will say container class, and inside curly braces let's give it some padding, and in curly braces we give it because we need multiple properties, and we give here default. By default our padding will be 1 rem, meaning on smaller or extra smaller devices, but on medium screens we give here 2 rem on medium screens and above, and on larger let's give 3 rem. So on larger and X larger and 2XL devices our padding will be 3 rem. Okay, let's save it. As you can see, so this is our extra large screen, so our padding will be 3 rem. On larger we have 3 rem. On medium we will have 2 rem, and on smaller we have 1 rem padding. Okay, so now we also need to make it responsive on larger and extra larger devices. It is looking good, but on medium devices let's make our text a little smaller. So in here we will say by default our text will be 2XL, but on medium and above screens our text will be 3XL. So if we save it, let me do it like this so you can see better. If we remove it, as you can see now our text is bigger. Let's Control Z it. Our text is smaller. It's 2XL, but on medium screens our text will be 3XL, and on larger and extra larger also. Okay, And let's also make our spacing a little less. It has too much spacing in here. For that, in here we will say by default our spacing will be 5, but on LG and above our space will be 2. Okay, it's a little confusing, but in here now we will say on max LG we have our padding to 0. Okay, so what this will do is on less than larger devices our padding will be 0. We give here px4, its by default will be 4, but when we do max-lg our padding on larger and less than larger devices, meaning on MD and smaller devices, our padding will be 0 because we give here space x5, so it will be enough. As you can see our spacing is less. Let's give the same for other also, and let's first make our text a little smaller too. So after this we will say max LG, we will make our text, let's see, lesser than large we have base, let's give it base and save it. Now it's much better. Let's give same styling to all of the other links. Let me copy it and paste for all of them like this. Let's save it. Now as you can see our spacing is much less and it is looking good now. So what we do here is basically we give space x5 on smaller screens, but we also give here px is 0, so our padding will be none, but our spacing will be 5. And on larger and above screens our spacing will be 2, but our padding will be 4. Okay, I hope you understand it. Okay, now it's looking good in medium devices. Let's also make it responsive on smaller devices. For that, instead of these links and a button, we will create a site nav here. Let's make it. So after this parent link div, in here let's make a comment here first, small to medium. We can say control backslash to make a comment, and let's make a new div and give it some class names. We will say flex goal, and now we don't need to say these links and a button on our smaller devices. So we will say here by default it's going to be hidden, but on MD screens and above, on medium screens and above, it's going to show us. So by default it's hidden, meaning on smaller and extra smaller devices it's not going to display, but on medium screens and above it is going to show us these links and button. Okay, and in here for our site nav, by default it's going to display, but on medium screens and above it's going to hidden. Okay, so when we create our links and other things, then we will see it. For now we need our icons, so we are going to use React icons. Let's install our package first. Let's copy it from here, and inside our terminal, in here we will paste it. Once this installed, we can use React icons. So now it's installed. Inside our div, the first one we need is rx cross 2. It's not important, let's import it by ourselves. We will say import rx cross 2 from React icons /rx. We also need one more, let's import it also. Import GI hamburger menu from React icons /GI. Okay. So if we come in here, we will give some styles to it. As you can see, let's say here color #FFF, so it's basically white color, and size will be 24 like this. And on hover, when we hover it, we need our cursor to be pointer. Let's give our class name cursor pointer like this. And one more GI hamburger, let's give the same styles to it. Size 24 and class name will be cursor pointer like this. As you can see, now we don't need to see them both at a time, we only need to see them once. So by default we are going to see this, but when we click on this, our cross icon will show, and when we click on cross, our hamburger icon is going to show. So for that we are going to use useState. So before our return, we will say const toggle menu set toggle menu equal useState. We need to import useState from React like this, and by default it's going to be false. Okay, so now based on our state, we need to show one of these icons at a time. So to use our state here, we first need to say curly braces and toggle menu. We need ternary operator here. If toggle menu is true, we are going to show this cross icon. Okay, else we are going to show this cross icon. So now if we save it, as you can see, we see 1, and we haven't changed our states here, so let's do that. After our class names, or let's do before, we will say on click. So when we click on our cross icon, our set toggle menu is going to be false, and in here let's also do on click, and in here our toggle menu is going to be true. So let me explain it. By default we have our hamburger. When we click on it, our toggle menu is going to be true. Okay, so now our cross icon will show to close our side nav, and when we click on this cross, our toggle menu is going to be false, so our side nav will not going to show. Okay, so now we need to create our side nav. For that, after this statement, but still inside this div, we will create another statement, and in here toggle menu ternary operator. So in here whatever we will say, we only going to show it if our toggle menu is true. Okay, so inside here let's create a div like this, and we also need links here, the same as we created before. So when we click on our home link, we are going to go on home page. Okay, but we haven't created yet, so let's just say slash for now, and let's create our other links. Home, about, contact, and register, like this. And after our last link, we also need a HR, meaning it's going to be our line, so if we can separate our links from our button. And after we have our new link, one more link, it's also going to go on slash, because we haven't created our sign out page yet. Well, if we click on this sign out, we are going to go on slash, meaning on home page. If we click on this sign out button or link, we will go on slash home page, but this sign out text will be inside our button. So in here we will say button, and inside we have our sign out text. Okay, let's save it. Okay, so now let's style this site nav. Inside our div we will say class name. Let's first position it correctly. For that we will say absolute, top is 8, and if I delete it, as you can see, if we do top 8, it will push down our items. And let's do right 5, so it will push our items to left. Okay, and in here we have said absolute, so we have to make its parent position relative, not this one but above here. We will give it relative like this. So now as you can see, it will not move from its place because it's relative to its parent. So now back in our div, we will say flex and its row, flex row by default. We need to make it flex call, so it will make our items vertical like this. And after it, it's not all the items are not center. Let's make them center by saying items center like this, and padding is 3 on all sides. Let's give border and its color will be border blue 600 like this. And also we need to make its background white so this gradient will not show like this. And this text color, let's also give it blue 700 like this. Now let's style our links. We'll say class name, padding 1, font semi-bold to make our text a little bold, and text LG to make our text larger like this. And when we hover it, we make our text blue 500 like this. Padding 1, font semi-bold, text LG, hover text blue 500. Let's save it and see. If we hover it, our text will be 500. Okay. Let's also style other links as well. Padding 1, font semi-bold, text LG, hover text blue 500 like this. Now let me copy it and paste for other items like this. Okay, now we need to style our HR. It's not showing because we haven't styled it yet, so let's style it. We will say class name, border blue 600. We also need to give it width 32 like this, and my is to separate it out from other items like this. My means margin on top and bottom. Okay, now let's style our button. We will say class name, text no wrap, so it will not wrap, padding 2 on all sides, but on x-axis let's give px7. Okay, and text LG like this, and font will be semi-bold. And let's make our background blue 600 like this. Text will be white, and on hover text blue 100. So when we hover it, our text will be blue 100 like this, as you can see. And our toggle functionality is also working perfectly fine. Okay, so now that our styling has completed, Let's give our site nav some transitions and animations effects. For that, inside our components folder, we will create a new file called navbar.css. Okay, let's import this file inside our navbar. Import /navbar.css like this. So now let's make our first transition effect, and the first one we will animate is our menu, our whole menu. Okay, so in here let's say class menu, and inside let's use transform. Translate 3D. We are using Translate 3D because it just gives us a nice 3D animation effect. The first property will be on x-axis, the second one is y, and third one will be z. So we don't have anything to do with the first one, and for the second one we will say -3 rem. So our menu will go on top. Okay, if we do only 3 rem, it will go on bottom, but if we do -3 rem, it will go on top. Okay, and the third property we also do it 0, and by default opacity will be 0. And in here we have our animation property. Let's first create our keyframe, add keyframes, and its name will be, let's give menu items. Okay, and in here let's say on 100% transform translate 3D 0 0 and 0. I will explain it in a while. Let me just like this. It has too much spaces in here. Like this. Okay, and I've mistaken it like this, and in here our opacity will be 1. So what I am doing here is on 100%. We don't need to give it 0% since we are only going from this point to this point, so we really don't need 0%. So we simply say 100% transform translate 3D, and we give it here our menu -3 rem, so it will go on top. But when our transition will go to 100%, our site nav will go back to its original position like it is before when we applying our transitions. And same for our opacity. By default we give it 0 0, so our menu will not show, but when our transition will go to 100%, our opacity will be 1, meaning our site nav will display here. Okay, so let's use this keyframe here. In here we will say, first we give here our keyframe name which is menu items, this one. We have our duration, and our timing function will be is in out. So these are basically our transitions effects. It has many more, for example is in and is out separately, but we are going to use is in out. And for our direction it will be alternate, so it will go from one point to another. and then go back to 0. You can also do reverse by alternate reverse. So by doing that, it will go from 100% to 0%, and our fill mode will be forwards. So now let's save it and let's use this menu class. To use that inside our navbar, in this div, we are going to use that class name here, name menu. Okay, but we are only going to use that menu class only when our toggle menu is open, because if we just apply our class in here like this inside a string, then even before we open our menu, our transition will happen and we can't be able to see that. So to do that, we will say template literals. We make template literals, and inside it we will make a condition. In here, first we will say our condition, and because we are using JavaScript condition in here, first we will say $sign and curly braces, and if toggle menu is true, and we will use ternary operator. It means only if toggle menu is true, then we are going to apply our menu class. Okay, let's save it and let's see. As you can see, okay, so it will go to top -3 rem, and our opacity will be 0, and when on 100% it will go back to its original position and our opacity will be 1. Okay, now let's style our links also, and for those classes also we are going to apply them like this inside template literals. So back in our navbar.css, first we have our home link. So we will say home class and transform translate 3D, and for our home link we will use x-axis. So in here we will say -3 rem, y will be 0 and z will be 0, but our x will be -3 rem. Okay, and opacity will be 0, and animation, we are going to use this same keyframe for all of our links, because we want our styles on 100% to go back to its original position and our opacity will be 1. So that's why we are going to use this same keyframe for all of our links. So inside here, first we will say menu items, our keyframe name, 0.6 seconds will be its duration, and our timing function will be ease in out, and our delay, we are going to have our delay. Why? Because after our this menu transition will be completed, after that we are going to transition our home link. If we don't give here our delay, then our menu and our home will be animated together. Okay, so that's why we give it delay, so it will wait for our menu to complete its transition and then it will animate. And for our direction it will be alternate, and our fill mode will be forwards. Okay, so let's also make for our about, transform translate 3D, and we are going to use our x-axis. We will say 1.9 rem, 0 and 0, because we are not going to use y and z axis, and our opacity will be 0. Animation, menu items, our duration will be 0.6 seconds, is in out, alternate. Our delay will be, let's give our delay here to make it consistent, and forwards. Let's use these transitions inside our links, and for them also we are going to use template literals like this. Since we are going to use JavaScript in here, we will say $ curly braces, and inside we will use our conditions. If toggle menu is true, we will apply our class name home. Okay, and also in here like this, toggle menu and about like this. Okay, let's save it. As you can see, it's working like this. So first our menu, and then delay, our home, and then our about. Our home will be -3 rem on x-axis, so it will go from left to right, and our about is 1.9 rem, so it will go from right to left. Okay, so now let's also animate this contact and register. So for them, inside our navbar.css, after about we will say contact, transform, translate 3D. It's going to be -3 rem. Since we are doing it in opposite direction from left to right, and others will be 0, opacity will be 0, and again we are going to use the same keyframe, name menu items. Our duration will be 6 seconds, is in out, alternate. First let's give 1.5 seconds delay, so every link has more 0.5 second delay than the other one, and alternate, forwards. Now for register, we will say register, transform, translate 3D, and it's going to be 1.9 rem from right to left. Others will be 0, opacity will be 0, and our keyframe will be animation, menu items, and duration will be 6 seconds, is in out, alternate like this, and delay will be 2 seconds, forwards. Let me paste it here like this. Now let's use them for their links, contact and register, template literals, if toggle menu is true, then we will apply our contact class. Same for our register. Register like this. So now let's see like this. Now it's time for our HR. After our register, we will say line, And transform, I haven't explained the transform property. What this does is it moves our element the way we want. For that we will apply different properties to move it from one place to another. Okay, and for our line we are not going to use x-axis, instead we are going to use y, and we will say 8 rem, so it will go from bottom to its original position. Okay, and for z it's going to be 0 and opacity will be 0, and our animation menu items 6 second 0.6 second duration is in out. Alternate, our delay will be 2.5 seconds, and after alternate we will say forwards. Let's apply it for our HR also. We will use template literals instead of strings because we need to apply a condition and we can't apply a condition inside a simple string. That's why instead of string we are using template literals, and our statement or condition will be if toggle menu is true, then we will apply our line class. Okay, so let's see like this. Now it's time to animate our sign out button. After line sign out, inside sign out we will say transform translate 3D 0, and it's going to be 1.5 rem, and z index will be 0, so it's also going to be from bottom to top. Okay, by default we are making it 1.5 rem on y axis, so it will be right here. Okay, and opacity will be 0. Animation, again same keyframe, items 0.6 seconds will be our duration, is in out will be our timing function, and alternate, and in here we also have to apply our delay 3 second alternate forwards. Let's save it and apply it. Template literals, toggle menu, and end. Sign out like this. Now let's do again like this. Our side nav transitions and animations is completed. It's time to animate our cross and hamburger icons. For that, let's also go into our navbar.css, and for this also we are not going to use this keyframe, instead we are going to make different keyframes. So in here we will say cross animation. Let's first create our keyframe, and its name will be animate cross, and it's going to be on 100%. We will say transform rotate 90 degree. Let's use it. So what this will do is on 100% our cross icon will rotate to 90 degree. Let's use it. Animate cross, 1 second will be its duration, and our timing function will be is out. 0 seconds will be its delay, and iteration count will be 1. We only want our cross icon to animate only once, and our direction will be alternate reverse. Let's also make our transition, or let's also make our animation for hamburger icon also. Animation, and for it also we have a different keyframe. Let's say animate hamburger. 100% transform, and we are going to rotate it 180 degree. So when we click on a hamburger, when our hamburger class is applied, our hamburger will rotate to 180 degree. So let's apply it. Animate hamburger. 1 second duration. Ease out. 0 second delay. Iteration count 1, and it's going to be alternate. Let's save it and apply these classes to our icons. So in here we can just apply cross, because when we click it we can apply it. We don't really need condition, so we only want to apply it when we click on one of our icon. It's only going to apply then. Okay, and hamburger. Let's save it and refresh. So our hamburger, it's not working. 100% transform, rotate 180. We forgot to give here degree. So let's save it and refresh it. As you can see, it is rotating 180 degree. Our hamburger is rotating 180 degree, and when we click on it, our cross icon will animate to 90 degree. Okay, and when we close it again, our hamburger will rotate to 180 degree again. As you can see, like this. Let's refresh again. It will rotate 90 degree and close it. Okay, so now our navbar component is completed. Let's check its responsiveness and all the other things. Okay, we haven't give here our hover class. Let's see. For our website name, when hover, we'll give it text gray 100, like this. Okay, our links, our sign out button. Let's again check its responsiveness on larger, on medium devices, and on smaller devices. And for the last time, let's appreciate our hard work. Okay, it's looking really nice and amazing. Wow, it's looking amazing. So that's it for today's video. If you like it, please press the like button, comments, share and subscribe to UI Universe for more content. I hope to see you in the next video. Till then, take care. Bye bye.